Hello, I'm Jonathan Dunksy, author of the Adam Lapid Mysteries. On this channel, I often talk about books that I read and enjoyed, and today I'd like to tell you about a psychological thriller called The Lie that was written by C.L. Taylor. The protagonist of The Lie is a young woman by the name of Jane Hughes. She works in an animal sanctuary in Britain, and at the beginning of the book, she receives an anonymous letter, and in that letter is a short message in which the author of that letter says that he or she knows that her real name is not Jane, but something else. And by this method, with this letter, we're sort of pulled into the story, into the mystery surrounding the life of Jane Hughes, whose real name is Emma. And she changed her identity a few years back for reasons that we don't know yet, at least in the beginning of the book. And slowly we get to know why she assumed a different identity, why she changed her name and moved to another place and so on. And the fact that from the day that she receives this letter, her life, which until that point was quite settled and contented, is turned upside down. She must discover who sent her that letter and why, and because the letter and the fact that this person knows her real identity so it's sort of connected to a traumatic event that happened to her a few years beforehand. The novel takes place at two different time frames and in two different places. There's the present, in which Emma, living under the name of Jane, is trying to discover who sent her this letter and what they want from her. And there are various other side characters that she suspects, and all sorts of interesting and things happen that sort of point her in one direction and then in another. And the other time frame is 5 years beforehand, at which time Emma, that is Jane's real name, Emma and three of her friends decide to go on a vacation to Nepal. And she goes with three girlfriends. They form a sort of group of friends together. There's Emma, and there's Al, who's a lesbian who's just been dumped by her girlfriend, and she's despondent. And that breakup is sort of the reason why these four girls decide to go on a vacation together in order to get Al away from her previous girlfriend and to try to take her mind off that breakup. The third girl in that group, the third woman, is Daisy, who's this sort of thrill seeker, very promiscuous. She jumps from one man to another, and she had a traumatic childhood, and she's trying to sort of compensate for that childhood and sort of the things that happened to her then, and her sort of a loveless relationship with her father. And the fourth girl is Leanne, who also has some trauma in her past that we don't know of yet at the beginning of the book. And she is very close to Daisy, and she's sort of the driving force behind the decision to choose Nepal for that vacation. And Leanne specifically wants the girls to go together to a sort of retreat called or a retreat, Kanta Yatra, I think the name is, that is sort of a mountain retreat in Nepal, sort of in a secluded place, and it's supposed to be, a clean break from modernity and anything that connects them to their regular lives. And they're supposed to stay there for a short time and then continue the trip. But as events unfold, that retreat turns out to be something quite different and much darker than what they envisioned, what they hoped it would be. So once they get to that retreat, the relationship between the four friends begins to unravel. Old tensions become much much more prominent, and the other people at that retreat, including the guy who runs it, sort of begin to, and the things that they teach there begin to fracture that relationship, and things become very tense among the four friends. In the meantime, or not in the meantime, but in alternating chapters, at least mostly alternating, the Emma, now under the name of Jane, continues to try to discover who sent her that note, and more messages arrive and more things happen that sort of ratchet up the tension, and things begin to affect her personal life, and sort of the tension builds up. From there, we get the answer to what made her change her name, and we follow as she tries to solve the current problem of someone sending her these disturbing messages, someone stalking her even, and perhaps even trying to do worse things to her. The best thing about The Lie is its pace. It reads very quickly. It's sort of something very pleasurable to read. It's smooth. You can just pick it up and run with it. I think it's an excellent vacation read. You can tear through it on a weekend of intense reading, and it's easy to dive into, to pick up where you left, and to just follow along with the story because the pace is so good. So I think The Lie is excellent if you're looking for something that will take your mind off everything, that will sort of pull you into a story that's not too deep and not too heavy, and it's just a lot of fun to read because the pace is so quick, and the story is so easy to get into and go with. So you can find links in the description below to where you can buy a copy of The Lie. And if you had a chance to read this novel or read any other psychological thrillers that you can recommend, please leave a comment in the comment section below, because I'm always looking for new crime fiction to read. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to get notified when I upload new reviews, consider subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you in the next review.